Hey you guys doing? We got Hero of the Trojan War patch here, 5.3, Smite PC, soon to be console, and Achilles, the new god, newest addition to the Greek pantheon. Been asking for him for a long time. A lot of people have wanted him. He's a very cool god, you know, in his lore. He's probably one of the gods that you know, the average person knows the best if they've, you know, read the Odyssey. And it's just a god that was really overdue. I was really surprised if they took this long to put him in the game. I'm not sure why. Maybe they had trouble making his kit like unique, because he is, you know, he's kind of like just like a brass warrior type of guy. So I could see how it would be difficult to bring him to life. But I think they did a really good job of it. They made his passive. He can choose to or wait, is this part of his passive? Yeah, it is, right? Okay, yeah. With he has an armor, like a new function where he can choose to wear his armor or not. His chest plate is removable in the fountain only, and it's a cool new feature that gives you a bonus additional movement speed and power if you don't wear the armor. So in a duel setting, you can not wear the armor and have that, and that's pretty cool. Although for the beginning, I think wearing the armor is probably better because it gives you extra health and it gives you protections. So it's going to be something interesting. I'm not sure if, you know, it'll have to depend on the stats entirely to see which one will be better for different situations in duel, and just how much different his stats are based on that. But, you know, it does change per level, so it should make a big impact for the late game what kind of build you choose to go into. But it just adds a little bit more flavor to the character. I think it's a pretty cool, cool concept. He's got, I'm not going to go too in-depth into every single ability because it's not an Achilles breakdown, it's a patch notes. So you can definitely check out his stuff and the video on him so you can see him play it. I'm going to get a video of him up as well on the PTS as long as I can, as long as it's working. And yeah, Shield of Achilles, he's got a stun, but no other CC, a close-up stun. It's very close. There's only a small box in front of him that's the stun part of it. The rest of it's just damaging. And yeah, he seems like the only thing that's going to be so powerful about him, and you know, some people are freaking out about, is he has an execute. So his ultimate is CC immune, which is, you know, really strong already, and then it's also an execute. So the thing about his execute, like when they first debuted it, I thought it was going to be a very low percent execute, about like 15%, maybe like 15 to 20. It's 30%, and that looks like at all ranks. So that's pretty crazy. I mean, 30% execute on a warrior. Talk about, you know, what that could mean for conquest. Somebody that's in the front line that gets blasted down by some like long-range mage damage or some ADC poke and gets down to 30, and boom, you just hit him with the fatal strike. It's a pretty swift move. You go right into the CC immune and you lunge at him. It looks really cool. He's got a really awesome dodge that allows him to swiftly dodge like very quickly. Hit, and he gets like an Athena passive proc where he throws a spear at you after dodging. If he hits a god with it, he gets another dash. So it's a little bit of that Ratatasker flair, and it looks a lot like Ramadash. Kind of combines all three into one. And yeah, I think the only thing that's crazy about him, the Radiant Glory is just a self buff that gives him a heal. It gives him bonus power. It gives him pretty much everything, including crowd control reduction, which is something I don't think many gods or any god can actually just summon up for themselves, right? Not many that I know of or can think of. So I think he's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to play him. He looks really, really fun, and the bottom line is going to be like, is that execute a little bit too much? Most people are saying yes, especially the fact that it's on a warrior, a god that's going to be able to last throughout the fights and, you know, really punish people when they do get to that percent in a massive team fight. For duel, it sounds really good in general for a warrior. I think he could be like around Cucullin status of viable if his numbers show up that way. But we'll have to see how he is going into the PTS and everything. And if he gets massively nerfed, which many of the gods do. All right, so is this Kage Ratatasker? Yeah, right, it has to be because it's the Japanese one. So, all right, so Kage Ratatasker. It looks cool. I like him the most because he's the shadowy one, and I love him. But not sure if well, I'm not going to get it because I'm not really playing that adventure mode. So, sad day for me, but cool Ratatasker's coming. They went with another goddamn Chuck skin with this Abyssal Warrior Wukong. Like, they do nothing for me. If they do something for you, I'm glad. That's good, but I don't get, like, even on the community desk, like, they acknowledge that it's a Chuck skin. They're like, oh, another Chuck skin, haha. And it's like, this one guy is running the whole aesthetic of so many skins every single patch. It's getting so old, and it's just, to me, it's such a boring and tired concept. But, oh well. We got the Countess Chang'e, which is pretty hype. The animations look really cool. The sounds are nice. I think it's a really cool skin overall. And then we got the True Boy Pot of Gold Fafnir coming in hot with one of the coolest animation changes for his ultimate that I've seen. The dragon looks sick. He has all those wispy, Wind Waker-y clouds. The purpley and green effect, it's so cool, and I think that they did a great job with it. I always hate Fafnir's 2. It looks just so awkward to me no matter what skin he's using. You know, what stock picture they use there for Fafnir's face. It just looks awkward to me. But we come to Playful Bunny Nua, and what could have been a really cool skin, because just conceptually, you know, the fucking little peep guys are mad cute. It's funny, it's hype. I would have loved it, but they had to, you know, be high res with it, and they had to just have her entire ass hanging out and give her this outfit. I'm pissed as hell at this skin, I am, but I'm not gonna rant for too long, especially because I know a lot of you guys aren't on the same page. But I'm just so sick of this shit. I am so sick of it from them. They just they disappoint me at every turn sometimes. Anyway, going forward, console players can now use VGS commands. Congratulations, you guys. I had no idea that. Okay, to all VGS commands. I'm guessing you had access to some. Or if not most of the important ones. And good thing for us in Duel, Attacker's Blessing is back, which is fantastic. I'm really pumped for that. The item pretty much changes Duel's whole start, because most gods will be building it that aren't mages, especially the ADCs and the more ability-based assassins and such. So some of the warriors as well. So finally, they'll be bringing that back, and I'm excited. Soul Gem is added back into the game, but they changed the passive of it. Now it stacks on abilities instead of autos. It goes up to 4 stacks for the abilities, and then on the 4th one, your next ability will heal yourself for the 40% of your magical power. And it'll deal that bonus 40% magical power the same way that it did before. I believe it's the same percentages, but now it stacks off of abilities rather than autos, so that it's a little bit harder to get this item stacked up, because they didn't want it to be used too easily, which makes sense to me. Alright, so do more, a little bit of blah blah blah. Typhon's Fang finally got nerfed. It was expected by everyone. They decreased magical lifesteal from 15% to 10, which is, you know, a little bit. It's a little bit. It's not that bad. But it's something to consider. And then they decreased the passive healing bonus, though, from 50 to 40, and that is, you know, quite a bigger hit. When you couple those two things together, Typhon's is healing you for a lot less than it was before. It's not so crazy that I would consider of never buying this item. I think it's still going to be very strong, honestly, but it might not be like the absolute go-to anymore, which is good, because we didn't want another Rod of not Rod of Asclepius, but we didn't want another Rod of Tahuti, where, you know, it was the most broken, you know, have-to-go item. So, pretty pleased with that nerf. I think they did a good job. We'll see where it stands in the meta. Warlocks, they also nerfed, because in Conquest it was showing up big. While in Duel we weren't building it too much. Conquest, you know, they didn't have the the luxury of going into double lifesteal so easily and just, you know, destroying people, because they would, you know, really opt for more health, and Warlocks obviously gives it to him. Stinky Sneeze, 27 months, thank you so much, dude. So they lowered the starting power to 65, and they lowered the power stacks to 0.5 from 0.6, which makes it equal 115 magical power at the end instead of 135. And with a lower start, that's a huge nerf to this item overall. Just starting it out lower and having it end quite a little bit lower than it was as well. So I think that's the right move for Warlocks. You don't want an item to have that much power when it gives so much health already. Otherwise, it's going to completely over-centralize the meta. So for Duel, that means probably the lifesteal path with Bancrofts is going to outshine it once again, or, you know, as it continue to. But we'll have to see. Book of the Dead, they decreased 25% to 15% mana use to form Shield. And when they say that, it's kind of confusing because you think it means you have to use your mana to form the shield, but what they mean is now 15% of your mana turns into a shield instead of 25%. So you get a 10% lesser shield. And that's also something that was being abused heavily in other game modes, not as much in Duel. I'm going to use this item a lot less now. It's 10% less. It's you know, it's noticeable for a health shield especially. So I think I'll probably be picking it up less, unfortunately. I did like this item a lot, and I think I wish that the nerf didn't have to come because I really did like it. But, you know, like I said, it's not that major. Maybe some positions we can still pick it up. It does give some nice health, and, you know, quickly without having to stack like a Warlock's. Malice was decreased physical power 50 to 40, increased critical stance 25%. New passive Pickle. Thank you so much during the hardest part. 1 year. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. These items, I care so much less about them because of the dual perspective. So I'm sorry about that. But I never really build Malice. You know, they increased the critical strike chance and lowered the power. Same that they were originally looking to do a Deathbreaker, and then they just neutered the crit chance as well. And then they gave it a new passive. Every crit strike against an enemy gives 1 stack of 3 stacks. Your next ability that damages the enemy god. Consume the stack to deal bonus damage over time. Oh, so that's quite a different ability now. So it has an altogether new passive, which is something to make note of. They increase the cost of rage, but they decrease the physical power of it, but they increase the critical strike chance from 1% to 2%, increasing the overall crit strike chance from 35 to 40. That's like quite some nerfs though, just to raise the crit chance by 5%. I feel like that's not that bad. I mean, it's not that good, really, like the overall item then, but we'll see how it pans out. I mean, I think they're just kind of killing crit right now with the way that this is going. I guess they are, you know, they're trying to bump up the crit chance but lower the items overall. And I don't know, I feel like crit probably won't have a place anymore after this, but we'll see. I say we'll see about all these things, by the way. I don't know, because we're going to see, you know. And then Soul Eater, they made some big changes, made it 100 stacks to 75, increased bonus physical power on Evolve from 10 to 20. Soul Eater now provides 60 physical power when fully up, so it went up 10 power, and it was removed, or it was reduced to 75 stacks from 100. That seems cool. I'm going to experiment with this item more now, probably, and see if it's actually usable in Duel, but I don't know. I never really have high hopes for Soul Eater. It's just got such a bad stigma about it, you know? It's like that item you never really want to touch too much. But again, we'll see. All right, now Warrior's Blessing. This is some crazy shit. They buffed Warrior's Blessing so that it is now going up from 10 protections to 15 of each. So you get 15 physical and magical protections at its evolution. But they did decrease the stacks gained from killing gods from 5 to 3. Now for Duel, that doesn't matter, because in the early game, you're barely killing gods anyway, and you're stacking this item up pretty quickly regardless. So it really is just a solid buff for this item that's already super strong. So even with the Attacker's Blessing reintroduction now, I think Warrior's Blessing is going to give it a run for its money, being such a powerful item for a lot of the warriors. Hunter's Blessing, they adjusted how the item provides basic attack damage. Basically, they made it so that Zhang and Morrigan can no longer abuse this item. They were getting their stacks up way too quickly, or rather, I'm sorry, they were getting their procs off way too easily. On the Morrigan autos, it would proc off of all of her AoE basic, and on Zhang, it would proc off of both of his autos, and it was just, yeah, apparently too much. All right, now quickly on to balances. I'm sorry, it took longer than I thought. Arachne, cool, little buff for her. They reduced the cooldown from webs 18 to 16. Can now have 3 webs at once instead of 2, which is pretty cool for junglers going over to like stack the webs. You know, maybe you can try to do that for the opening in Duel too if you want to try to take a buff really quickly. It's still a little bit risky, but because you know you can always get invaded really easily. It's Duel. It's a much smaller, you know, it's a much smaller platform, and you just gotta be always wary. So if you waste all your, you know, all your webs, you're gonna have a rough time. And you have to get out of the base really quickly to get all these webs ready in time for the start, because there's so much less time than in Conquest. Now the big boy Cerberus gets huge buffs, and I'm so pumped. I love him. Ghastly Breath goes up in damage. Nice little bit there. It's per tick, so I mean 15 to 20 per tick is actually quite nice for just a starting out. And I think that will make me level this item over the 1 too, to start. A lot of people have been telling me the 1 was better to level, but I think for a clear perspective, unless you have an enemy that can interrupt you and stop the ability, then you should be leveling it. But make sure to deduce whether your opponent can interrupt you or not. Soul Explosion, Expulsion, my bad. They increased the range from 40 to 50, so he can go farther with this jump now, which is great for him. The jump was, it was one of the shortest jumps, so it was definitely a little bit awkward. Now he's got an extra 10 units on that. That's great. Now, his ult, they decreased the post fire from 1.4 seconds to 0.1. That means, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this, but I've complained about it. After he uses his ult, once he puts you on the floor, for 1.4 seconds he was unable to act. It was just like he was still in the process of the ultimate, even though he'd already put them down. So it was kind of like weird. He wouldn't be able to prioritize targets after he had ulted them. I guess it was more meant for the the team fight, for your teammates to jump on them, but he couldn't do anything himself. So now it's only 0.1 second delay, so he could immediately, or pretty much immediately, act and start going ham on them. The only thing is they added a cripple instead of the post fire delay. For 1.2 seconds he cripples himself, so he can't jump immediately on them, and that's fine because it's better than having that awful post fire delay. Now he can stun them afterward, especially because this ability now auto activates all 3 heads, giving him a stun for free, so it sets up for the stun for you. He's also knockback and knock up immune as well after the ult for 1.2 seconds, the duration of your cripple. So it's pretty cool. They really reworked the ult a little bit and buffed the crap out of it. I'm very excited for this god. Yet again, I have been for a long time. But I'm even more so excited for this. Freya, they changed her passive so that her magical lifesteal is no longer 15% at base, it's 5%. And then it goes up per level to 15%. She got neutered there. That is such a big nerf. They really took a chunk out of her. And now she's not going to have that absurd lifesteal when she gets Bancrofts right off the bat anymore. She'll have much less, and that's hype. Glad to see it. I love Freya too, and I actually love Freya to the point where I want her to be balanced so that I can play her without her being OP. That is what I would like. Now, Irradiate also got nerfed, decreased damage on it from 40 to 35, and then ultimately just a 100 difference. But again, this is on multiple autos, so you're hitting with this ability, so it does add up a little bit more than it seems there. Decreased magical power, scaling from 25% to 20%. So again, just hurt her across the board there with her lifesteal and auto game a little bit. They gave Khepri some love. A 1 second cooldown decrease on Abduct, and then a 2 second cooldown decrease on Solar Flare, which is great because he had some of the longest cooldowns, and it's just a tough god to be able to utilize really well. Scylla, the girl, comes in with a nice buff to her passive, so randomly, up to 25. I guess she wasn't keeping up with the other mages as well with this new season coming in. And then they gave 5% extra scaling on Sikkim. Great, I'm so excited. Scylla's like one of my favorite gods, and I'm pumped. She's going to be a little bit more viable. She's already kind of climbing the ranks this season. I think she's gonna have a good time. Now, Serket, they actually nerfed the Deathbane, went from 10 seconds to 13 seconds. Quite a little nerf there. She relies on Deathbane to get in and to get out a lot of the time, because she's using her 3. The 3's on much longer cooldown. Deathbane, with the shorter cooldown, you can utilize as an escape or an initiation. Now you're going to have to be a little bit more careful with how you use this ability. They decreased the physical protection reduction that she gets from Deathbane as well from 15 to 10. So a nice little nerf to Serket there, who was overperforming in Conquest. Unfortunate for her in Duel, where she was kind of on the come up. It's not the worst nerf, but it'll have an impact. At least a slight one. And then Uller. Wish they nerfed him harder, but they gave him 10% less scaling on his Bladed Arrow and on his Hail of Arrows. It's nice. It's just so little compared to what these numbers already are. 80 to 70, 120 to 110. He's just going to be hitting a tiny bit less, but that's, from start to finish. So his clear will be a little bit worse, and his poke will be a little bit worse as a result, and that's great. It's only going to be a little bit worse again, but it's something. And then finally, lastly, the big boy himself, Vamana, gets a buff for the first time in quite a while, to my recollection. increased protections gained from his Colossal Fury, his ultimate, from 5, which was 5 to 25, to now 15 to 35. Huge buff to his ultimate's protections. So now he's much less killable in that thing. He was really just way too easy to take down. Like, I would ult towers and feel like such a little baby bitch because I couldn't take the tower shots, plus my enemy hitting me, and you feel like you should be, you know, on top of the world, the strongest man in the room, but Colossal Fury was really not, you know, it was pretty underwhelming. Now, the boy is back and stronger than ever, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it solidifies him a little bit better place in duel as well. And then they also added a targeter to indicate where his basic attacks will hit, which is great because that ability was so vague where it would hit with your autos. Alright, so that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry again, it was a little bit more lengthy, but I forgot this patch actually had a bit more to it than I originally remembered. So, have a great one. Thanks so much for watching, and remember to subscribe if you enjoyed the video.